Today we're going to make we're not going to make a cake, we're going to decorate a cake. It's just going to be a panda face one. I haven't got a massive cake because there's not lots of people to eat it, okay? I mean, you guys all know I don't really make massive cakes anyway when I do them for videos and for YouTube, and it's usually because they're not being eaten. Who saw my piglet one? That one did get eaten. This one's about 10 centimetres, but I'm actually going to cut it down a bit anyway. And this one, I've got a big, can you see I caught my board? It's got a big indentation in. This one's about 14, 15 centimetres. I don't know what that is in inches, do you?
15 centimetres, 6 inches.
Is it? Oh, 6 inches, and so that one will be about 4 inches then. I'm just going to put a little bit of my frosting / buttercream on to hold my cake in place. Oop, you're changing the lighting. And then we're going to just pop that on there. I'm going to have it about in the middle. I think maybe about in the middle.
That looks pretty central from this angle.
Okay, I've cut my cake in half. You can cut it into 3. For speed, I just cut it in half. But usually I like lots of layers. Depends how much filling you like in it, really.
Well, I find as well, you've got more layers, you've got more buttercream, so it makes it like you like butter.
How much you like buttercream?
Yeah.
I'm not bothered about having loads of layers of this stuff though. I will still eat it, but I wouldn't eat it in like this frosting in big quantities. So that's on there. Okay. So the small cake, I'm just going to put on near the bottom. So near the bottom side of it. So I'm not being overly neat at the moment, but that's fine. So I'm going to cut a little bit off. He's just come to collect one of his orders, I think. Cut a tiny bit off the bottom of the nose because I don't want it perfectly rounded. Ooh. And I'm going to cut a little bit off here, just a small amount. Now, if it looks quite tough, it's because I only took it out the freezer about maybe an hour before we started, so it's still kind of a little bit frozen. I'm just going to cut that so it's slightly more curved here at the sides. Okay, and just a little bit more here. So it's mainly flat at the bottom, and then we're just cutting this bit there and there just to make it a tiny bit more rounded. And then what I'm gonna, in fact, I'm actually gonna move this even further down. It's quite a big nose actually. Should I have gone a bit smaller, do you think? I've just cut that a little bit smaller, otherwise I think it's gonna overrun my entire face. And I'm gonna cut, oops, this one's got lots of air bubbles in it, this cake that we made. I'm going to cut, can you see, so we've got a little bit of a slant, a little bit of frost in there. This one's actually been in the freezer a little while. This small one was just a spare one that I had that was knocking about in the freezer. But yeah, we end up collecting post for quite a few people, don't we, on the street? It's just because not obviously people are at work at the moment, but we've still got to come in to do all your packing and posting and things. Okay, so that I think that's a bit better size-wise. It's kind of similar to, you know, when I did the dog cake. I don't know how many of you guys saw the dog cake. Okay, what I'm going to do is, rather than having it completely rounded, I'm going to cut a little bit off kind of the top edge each side. I'm not sure if I'm making this wonky or not. So normally I would try and get above so I could see it a little bit better. Really want to eat some.
You're not having cake just yet for breakfast?
I had some breakfast, I had a yogurt.
Did you?
Yeah. And then I'm going to try and cut. Yes, we did.
You normally have chocolate rabbits for breakfast.
I haven't got any. We had this discussion the other day. I haven't got any.
You still seem to find them.
I haven't got any. So I'm going to cut. Can you see so that we've got a bit of a curve? It's not like a really nice curve at the moment, but it's
going to zoom in a little bit.
Sloping a little bit so that instead of it having that sharp edge, it's got a little bit of a curve to it. Okay. So it's not a realistic panda that we're aiming for. We're going cartoony, okay? Just, it would take me a little bit longer to make it realistic. And then what I want to do is work out where my eyes are going to go. And I'm tempted, usually I dip in the eyes a little bit, but because they have kind of black patches, I don't know whether to dip in the eyes or not. Decisions. I'm going to do it slightly, just a little bit. So we're going to remove, can you see just a little bit here? Oops, I haven't cut through it there. And let's see if we can make it match. In fact, I'm going to turn it around because I can't get to that side for a while. So let's see if we can go in here. They're not exactly the same, but I think I could probably nudge that a little bit with my fingers. Just obviously make sure you have washed your hands. You should be washing your hands anyway. Okay, so we're going to cover it. You don't have these scruffy bits of hair that I have, Richard.
I just have scruffy hair.
Yes. I'm going to cover it now in my frosting. Quite often I will use chocolate ganache. it's a fairly simple shape and it should be okay. And because it's not been out the freezer long, I'm hoping that it's not going to crumble too much. Also, this frosting's fairly soft, so it's spreading on fairly easily.
We've been asked a couple of queries. Do we make our cakes from scratch or do we use cake? We do make them from scratch. If you see...
When we make them. We have used a few videos where I've just bought them ready-made because we've not had much time. And if you saw the piglet one, it was a homemade cake, but I didn't make it. So the piglet one from, was it just last week? It was last week, wasn't it? We did piglet. My sister actually made it. My sister loves baking. So she baked the cake. And dropped it off for me, and then I decorated it. But it was for her little girl, so for my niece's first birthday. So I was lucky enough to get someone else to bake that. To be fair, I'm lucky enough anyway in that I don't do most of the baking. Richard does most of the baking. I haven't actually baked for a while, have I? It's as smooth as I'm gonna get it because it's quite soft. So like normally I'd spend a bit longer smoothing it over, but I'll just put them to one side for me to eat later. Those offcuts. Because it's quite soft, I should be able to just smooth it out under the fondant, I think. Just going to try and scrape some little bits off the board, otherwise they're going to end up on all my fondant. I'm going to put more on the board than taken off. Okay, so this is where normally I would have like a bit of a clean up of my workspace, so I'd properly wipe it down so I've got no crumbs and things.
Your workspace looks spotless.
It's never spotless, my workspace. The paste is... I don't know if you can see the one that I haven't taken out the packet. It's really hard. I actually needed this before we came online as well, and I'm still giving it another need. And can you see wherever I get the creases and cracks? This will go on the back, but I'll try and rub them out a little bit. I can still see them a little bit, because sometimes if I roll it and there's a deep crack, when I pick it up, it can tear where that crack was. So if I kind of compress them together a bit, don't worry if you see them a tiny bit, but compress them a little bit. And then we'll put them to the back. And this is going to be hard work for me. Oh, look, I got pink dust on my rolling pin, and it's really it has been washed. Maybe just not very well, but it is quite difficult to get the powder dust off things. Now, if you got like a mat or something that's non-stick, sometimes they still stick, but it's a bit easier because you're not going to have to put any icing sugar or corn flour down on the work surface to stop it sticking. You know that I'm going to end up rolling that on that. This is where I want to get Richard to come around and roll it out for me. I'm sat down at the moment and I can't roll out when I'm sat down. The tables are too tall. I need to really be stood up. Just make sure it looks big enough that it will cover the face.
I don't know if you've got enough paste.
I have got enough paste. I've got plenty of paste. Sarcastic. Okay, so I'm going to press down around the edge of the nose. Just go gently. Okay. You can use a smoother if you want. So anywhere where you're getting the creases, just lift and pull outwards.
You got another birthday request.
Oh,
it is Rebecca's birthday today too.
Happy birthday, Rebecca. Hope you're having a wonderful birthday at home.
Well, she is. She's watching you on Facebook.
What other way would you want to spend your birthday? Okay, so can you see I'm just lifting it up wherever there's a crease, and then it actually feels really nice, this paste. So I'm just pressing in fairly deep around the edge, just around this edge here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut. Okay, so I'm going to try and cut around the edge. Oop.
What picture knife have you got today?
I've got avocado today.
You're back to avocados
today? That buttercream stuff, or that filling, frosting stuff. Back to avocado today. I like to swap it around. Yeah, they come in loads of different patterns.
Which is your favourite pattern?
I don't know. I like this and the strawberry one. I actually quite like the pineapple one.
We've sold out of strawberries.
I like the pineapple one.
Yeah.
My least favourite is the banana.
I think we've been asked for a help with the ganache question.
Yeah.
I don't know if I did see one earlier about ganache recipes. We do actually have one, but that was something I used to give out when we did the ganache classes.
Maybe you could do a Facebook Live on ganaching.
Maybe, yeah. We'll see. We'll pick that up at a later date, because we used to do that in the ganache classes, like the recipes, how we make it, because we make it all ourselves. So yeah, we will look at that, and it may even be whether we do it as a cheap and cheerful online class or some sort of Facebook I don't know. We'll see.
Right, guys, I've rolled a piece. It's not quite long enough to go around the bear, but it's fine. It'll stretch. And this is going to cover my board. So first of all, I'm going to press it down this way, just to widen it a little bit. What's funny now, Richard?
We've got another one. What's the difference between marshmallow icing and regular icing? It's just different.
Oh no, it's people do homemade ones with marshmallows. Yeah.
Ooh.
I've never tried it.
But this is.
I've seen it a lot on YouTube. This one is fondant with, I presume it's got marshmallows in it as well. Or it's just might be marshmallow flavour, I don't know. I think it's that the marshmallows give you a lot of elasticity, you see. I think. But I know that I have seen a lot of like YouTube videos and stuff where people make their own homemade marshmallows. Marshmallow fondant even. Probably, I think a lot of people like the taste of it a lot more as well, actually, with it being marshmallowy.
We've been asked just a bit of a recap on what is it you're making today.
I'm making a panda face, and this bit here that I'm rolling out now is just going to be so I can cover the board. You don't have to cover your board, but I am doing. It might crack. This one is actually some spare paste that I just had in the cupboard, so it's not as fresh or soft as some of the new ones that I've covered it with. So,
Samantha has asked, could we post some of your very first creations?
Samantha, I posted it actually just the other day.
Yeah, well, I think it was in our community group though.
Stuck in there.
So we have a Zoe's Fancy Cakers community group, and I think within that we did post one of Zoe's very first creations,
which I did for Richard's mum.
Yeah.
Well, no, his mum asked me to make it, and it was for the church choir master, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At your mum's church. Of him sat playing the church organ. In fact, and I didn't even make the cake, so Richard's mum made the cake, and I just decorated it for her and made this little topper that went on the top. I'm just pulling this around the edge. Can you see it will crack a little bit here, but hopefully that'll all be beyond my board so we won't see it. Just nudging it up against the face. Okay. Where it meets at the bottom there, I can cut through, pull this bit off, pull the underneath bit off, and then we'll push it together. If you think it's going to be seen, you can rub out that seam, but actually mine's not going to be seen, so I'm planning on the body going there. Oh, smoother, there we go. I knew I had a smoother somewhere. Just make sure it's nice and smooth. And then what I'll do is I'll just trim off the edge. Usually have to lift it up a little bit to be able to get to the edge. So we're going to cut. Just always check that the blade is quite clean because the fondant all ready to roll icing. And I apologise because I confuse everybody because I refer to it as fondant and I should refer to it as ready to roll icing. And you see it kind of goes all bitty and stops your knife cutting if your blade is covered in it. And can you see when I'm cutting, I'm not going up and down like that because it just will make a mess. I'm just going to clean off this blade. I'm kind of swiping through. If I wipe it on the side there. So this is the Renshaw's Extra, this one that I'm using. It's getting bits of the green from my hands in. So again, I would normally give my hands a bit of a rinse between using the colours. I'm just going to have a look actually at the size. It's not too bad size-wise. So the ears are fairly big, so you probably wouldn't want to just eat an ear, especially because the black fondant has got quite a lot of food colouring in, you know, with a black mouth and tongue and teeth. It's not going to look very nice.
Adding some pink dust?
I don't think I am actually.
What? No pink?
No, I have no plans on this one having pink. I'm just going to try and cut it in half.
We'll see.
Okay. I'm going to squash it down a little bit for each ear. Squash them till they're a similar size. Just want to kind of try and cup it a little bit. I'm trying to avoid using too many bits of equipment.
You're keeping this super simple, this one.
Yeah, super simple.
I'm just going to go for it.
Super simple. You can put water on if you want, but you don't need to. So don't put them right up near the top and don't put them really far on the sides. It's kind of top corner. Technically it's not a corner, is it? But hopefully you guys know what I mean. I'm just going to use my Dresden tool. I'm going to put a little line down the middle.
Tell you what, it's freezing in here today.
It's always freezing in here. Because I use like the frosting rather than ganache, I can press quite hard and it will push and dip in. Whereas if it was the ganache, I couldn't press as hard. Okay, and I'm going to go up here. So So like I say, we're just keeping it very simple, this.
So I know I've just seen somebody ask again, obviously you've got the joint at the bottom of the board, haven't you?
Sorry?
The joint at
Yeah.
the bottom of the board where you put the covering on, because that's where we're going to put the body. So
Yeah, the body's going to go there, so it'll be covered.
yeah, so if you generally have, when you're covering boards, if you have the joint somewhere where it may be covered, it makes life a little bit easier for you.
Yeah, I'm going to put some little hairlines in his chin. Probably didn't actually need the hairlines, but his chin's a bit dipped in there.
What do you think are the most important things when you're doing, like, you know, sculpted cakes or face cakes and bits and pieces?
Important things as in advice or tools?
Well, no, just like, what things would you say you look out for most when you're creating it? Shape.
Doesn't fall apart.
Obviously, the most important thing is to make sure they taste nice. So the cake's got to be good.
Yeah, you do still need a cake that tastes nice.
I think, like a lot of the things is, it's always, I mean, I think from obviously I always think your cuter, simpler things look better.
Yeah, sometimes if you're struggling, sometimes you don't want to go too complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you want to, you know, especially if you're entering competitions and stuff. Usually, rather than, so if I'm doing a dog cake, rather than looking up a realistic dog, I would usually look up like a cartoon picture of a dog because it's easier for me to follow. I'm going to go kind of teardrop / egg shape.
You need to make Bruce one day.
No.
If anyone doesn't know, Bruce is our little dog.
He's a pain.
He's not a pain.
He is a pain. So I'm just going to squash them down. You can use your rolling pin if you like. Usually when I use the rolling pin, it completely changes the shape though, so I'm trying to just use my hands. I could have maybe even gone a little bit thinner. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and put this in here. So I want the thin bit.
You're giving him black eyes.
In those dips, yep. It's what pandas
I
have.
thought that was funny.
I know you did. I know you did. I try not to encourage you by laughing.
No, I know, I've got like dad jokes.
Okay, so can you see the wider bit comes a bit lower than the nose, and then these bits just fit in those eye sockets. I'm going to try and actually see if I can round them off a little bit.
That's a first for me. I've been told I sound like Sean Bean. I've never had that one before.
And then I'm just going to put some little indentations in. I can't decide whether to do really basic eyes or whether to do fancy eyes. I might go with the sugar pearls actually because they've got chocolate in the middle. Because I've done the bigger eyes on the other characters. These ones are 10mm ones, aren't they? Hopefully they're the right size. You don't have to use these. You can use you could just roll fondant and stick it in.
Something else Zoe's in from the shop.
You keep opening things from the shop front, which keeps saying, don't open more stuff.
We've got that many open things.
Yeah, sometimes they are, you know, when they kind of bash together, they look a bit grey, so I usually kind of roll them in my fingers a little bit first. It's small, but actually I think that's okay. Do you think it's okay, Richard, or not? It's just they've got a shine to it.
Yeah, you can see, yeah. They've looked better than I thought they would look.
Although it might actually get ruined when I do some dusting. Oh look, it's ruined anyway. But you wanted it.
Oh, it'll come out. Yeah, it looks like he's flustered now.
He is. It's very flustered now. Okay, so I'm just going to put on a bit of a body. So if you wanted, you could use cake. I haven't got any more cake, so I'm just going to use some black, but you can use cake. I'm going to use some of my actual leftover white fondant, and then I'm going to try and add colour to it. Oh, we've more noise now. The lady is out again at the back. Can you guys hear her?
I think you're probably hearing the village next door.
She must be able to hear us.
She's so loud.
So I'm going to put this on here and just cut so it matches with the bottom of the board. Like I said, this is a huge amount of fondant, so you guys can just use cake, but I haven't got any more cake to use. Yeah, maybe. I'm just going to I'm going to put some little lines on his face to make him a little bit kind of furrier. I was going to try and, you know, normally I dust to put shade on. On this one, I was going to try and
Let's see if I can see.
So it was wet rather than dry dust. But actually look nicer before I put the lines on, I think. I'm just going to see if I can kind of press harder. Can you see around the cheek area? I don't know if that kind of shows up or not. Does that show up from the top, Richard? So that it looks a little bit furrier. No, I meant from the top. I mean, can you see it from the top?
You can see roughly.
Because if I press in harder, kind of flicks it out a little bit. I thought it might make him look a little bit But if you let the fondant obviously dry too much first, you won't be able to get these lines in. Just playing around now by making it a little bit scruffier by pulling out his hair a little bit more.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Maybe a bit more on. Go a bit deeper with the chest hair here.
It does, like, now you pull the hair out a little bit, it does make a massive difference.
Yeah, it does change it, doesn't it?
Yeah. See, it's always the little things.
And obviously you can do this absolutely all over, but time-wise, I think I might struggle to do it everywhere, and it's a bit boring for you guys to watch.
Well, I'm sure people would say they don't mind.
So I've just put it into the black. Can you see when I do the black? Can you see it kind of flicks the black out into the white a little bit as well? Hopefully you can see that anyway. I don't know how well you can. Does it show? And of course you can just leave it plain. Sometimes I do it and I think, oh wait, I liked it more before I've added all the extra bits, so go with what you like best. They do have white noses, not black noses, don't they, pandas, I think? Just cutting the top off that. Let's just cut some little pieces for kind of bamboo. Try and make it a bit bigger. I'm not actually looking at any pictures, so it'd probably help if I looked at pictures of bamboo, because I don't think mine's going to look anything like bamboo. Let's put some lines in. Okay, so we're getting some little lines in there. Again, I could probably put some shading on this, might change what it looks like. Does it look like bamboo or not?
Yeah, yeah.
And I should really put some water on to hold it in place, shouldn't I? Where's my pot of water gone? It's a little bit of water just on there. You don't need much. Maybe a little bit here as well, so kind of a line across. Can you see I'm just putting some little lines up from that line? Like I say, this might not actually be what bamboo looks like. You know when you think you know what it looks like, but you're just doing it from memory? So actually, it could be completely and utterly wrong. I don't need dark green, have I, for the leaves?
Yeah.
I presume, like, mine looks like the bamboo canes that you put in your garden that are dry, rather than live ones that have got leaves under them. I don't know. Does it look like bamboo? It maybe doesn't, I'm not really sure. I'm going to use a bit of dipping solution actually to create a paint. Let's see if it works or not. Sometimes these things work out well, sometimes they don't go as planned. So I'm using dipping solution, which is like a clear alcohol. So any clear alcohol, or you can use like lemon extract if you don't want to use alcohol. It does evaporate, but also I'm just painting this on the board, so no one's going to eat it. But it does evaporate, so you're not left with alcohol on your... I put a bit too much liquid in there, look, so it's really runny. In fact, I'm just going to paint some shading on him with this as well. Let's see, it might be a bit too runny still.
Nicola's asked, can you help with consistency for the buttercream? Or butter icing. We always tend to, like, when we're making buttercream, we tend to whisk the butter up until it's white and fluffy before we add the icing sugar and all the other bits and pieces into it. So as long as you whisk your butter up really nicely to start with, it generally gives you a good starting point.
Yeah, it's more about quantities of.
It's generally if we use a block of butter, so say 250 grams.
We basically don't measure it, we just make it up. Basically, which isn't very helpful to you, is it?
You may make it up.
Well, I do when I make it. I just chuck it in until I feel like it's right, but then if it's too thick, you can add like a dash of water. I think you can add milk as well, but obviously it doesn't last as long if you're adding milk.
You can also add like a little bit of Trex into it, so vegetable shortening. Does help make it a little bit lighter and fluffier as well. Obviously it takes away a bit of the taste from the butter, but it is quite good to add a little bit in.
How many bamboo leaves am I putting on, Richard?
Wow, you've got lots of bamboo leaves on there.
Is that too many? So that I can try and add some shading with it. Like normally I use powders. Just trying to see what colour it's actually darker than I was thinking. Which on his body is fine because his body would actually, I think, be black anyway. Can you see how it runs into any lines? So those bits would always look deeper. That's if you've got it fairly runny. So I quite like that effect on things. I should have really picked up a bigger brush as well. I don't know if I've got a bigger brush. I'm just going to go a little bit more dilute. In fact, no, I'm going to use it like this to go down here and under the chin here. Then I'm going to dilute it a little bit more. Maybe a little bit just here. And around, oops. The only thing is when it's runny, it will drip, so just watch out for the dripping. Okay, I'm going to add a bit more to it, and then, in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this other bit in a thing on its own. I'll show you why in a second. I'm just going to find a bigger brush. I'll just be a second, guys. This brush is actually quite stiff, so I'm just putting a bit of the alcohol in there to see if we can
spread it out.
Spread it a little bit.
Obviously, when it dries, it looks a little bit different as well, doesn't it?
No.
Does it not? No, I mean, because it looks quite wet at the moment.
Oh, yeah, it won't look wet, but I mean, it'll look the same colour, is what I meant. It's just still a little bit too strong colour-wise. I want it a bit more diluted. Oops, I chucked that everywhere.
That's alright, you're tidying up anyway.
There we go. So can you see it's a bit more diluted? So where it's going over the main bit, you don't see the colour too much, but can you see it kind of going into the creases and leaving, I think, does that show or does it not show?
Yeah, Richard? Yeah, you can see.
So it leaves a slightly darker line in any way that I've drawn those kind of hairlines.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Darker there. Yeah, it's got a fairly dark face now as this panda.
It doesn't look that dark.
But yeah, try and catch it where it drips, otherwise you'll end up with loads on the bottom of the board. Did he look better before?
Not like
In
red.
fact, I'm going to go a little bit darker on the body, just add a bit more powder to my brush, because this bit of the body would actually be, I think, pretty dark.
Yeah, that looks better.
There we go. In fact, I'm going to get that brush on something in a minute. A little bit darker down here. And then I'll try and just drag it with a bit of just alcohol on the brush so it's slightly more diluted. I'm just taking what I've got left and I'm going to divide it in half and then we can see. He might have pretty scrawny arms, this panda.
All our Facebook Live videos remain on our Facebook page, so they're always there to watch. And we do upload them to our YouTube channel as well, so they will be on there. But so they're basically all available here on YouTube. For those.
Do you know what? Because it's going to be a bit skinny, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one so it's coming out from the side. I'll just pinch it here so it looks like it's joined on there. Yeah, and then I can cut that bit there off. I should have put some water underneath, it's going to be sticky. Let's put some hairlines on.
I tell you what, I can smell that dipping
solution. It does smell really
now.
strong. Like when we've used it in classes and everyone's been using it, we've had to open the door because it's quite a strong
alcoholic smell.
Yeah. I don't know, it just smells really strong. Really, really strong. I know, actually, the bit I forgot I was going to put some black in. It's going to drip a little bit of black in. Can you see the creases on my bamboo?
Ah, yeah,
so
that's
they
good.
look like they're a little bit darker in those areas.
We got any more questions?
Or anywhere where it would be a bit shaded.
We got any general knowledge about pandas? Anybody?
You didn't look, did you, to see if anybody had used the new paste?
I can have a look back. Has anybody got any interesting facts that are unknown about pandas or a little bit different?
Am I just not chatting enough for you, Richard?
No, I just thought I'd ask.
Right, so the bit that I've got left off that one I can add to this one. So now this one could be chunkier, so that if it's got his hand up to his face, he's got a bit more bulk now to it. Just going to try and roll out those creases and cracks, and then we're just going to roll a big chunky bit. So you're probably not going to want to eat this. I think it would be a bit weird if you did want to eat this much fondant, especially when it's black. So sometimes it is just for effect, some of the paste that you do put on there. Just check it's long enough to go from shoulder towards the face. Does it look all right there, Richard? You're not watching now? You're not watching what I'm doing?
I'm looking at the comment. Yes, it looks perfect.
You have to suck up that much.
You know me, I don't suck up.
He does. Does big
It's
style.
better to stay in good books rather than bad books.
Right, okay, so we're drawing some little fur lines in there. Again, I haven't spent long.
It looks a lot cuter now with the little arms on.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay. So remember, the harder you press, the more that hair, can you see, flicks out. If you want it flicking out, you might not want it that furry. I guess the hair everywhere other than the face would be much longer and kind of fluffier, maybe.
Still amazes me, obviously, you've been doing cakes for quite a few years now and how they always come together. Do you know what I mean?
Just at the end.
Yeah, because they always look like
I
they're...
mean, for a while it looks awful.
Well, no, I don't mean like that, but they kind of come together out of nowhere toward the end when you start getting little bits and pieces on. But yeah, no, that looks super.
Maybe a bit spiky looking, that arm, rather than furry. That's fine. I'm happy with the spiky arm.
Did you know bamboo makes up 90% of a panda's diet? Thank you very much, Rebecca.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
I saw them when I went to Taipei, though, in Taipei Zoo. That's the only time I've seen pandas.
I've seen red pandas before.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. They're different, aren't they?
Well, yeah.
Right, okay. I think he's finished. Does he need anything else?
No.
I think it's okay, isn't it?
Put it a bit more in the middle.
There you go, guys.
Yeah, cool.
So you can dry dust. So like usually I just use a dusting brush and I would just dry dust the powder on, but look, it's a bit messy there. I thought this time I'd try and use that just so you can see the difference. I guess the advantage of this is it goes into cracks. So if you've got hairlines and you want them to look deeper further down, like the wet kind of paint that will evaporate is better. Whereas if I put dry dust over that, the dust doesn't go into the cracks. So actually the top surface is darker than the cracks. Does that make sense? So sometimes that is better. But at least you guys got to see it, because like I say, I do normally do.
I'm impressed with your hand colour.
Yeah, it's nice. I'm going to go wash my hands now. Right, that's it then for today, guys. Thank you ever so much for watching.